This is a GFI receptacle. GFI stands for Ground Fault Circuit Interrupter. GFCI, Ground Fault Circuit Interrupting Receptacle. What it does is it, in wet locations or locations where people are more likely to get shocked, a GFI will trip the circuit before a person gets hopefully a dangerous amount of shock. And you can only set the thing. This is the reset button that I'm pushing here. This is the test button that I'm pushing down at the bottom there. You can only ever set a GFI receptacle once you have voltage on it, which this is not even installed yet, so of course it does not yet have voltage for it to reset. You see this little window right here. Sometimes that has green light, sometimes red. If it has a green light, that means it's manufactured to show you that the GFI is currently in use and working properly. Sometimes they have red lights to show you that they have tripped. Notice we have, this is 20 amp because you've got the hot hole, neutral hole, and the neutral hole has a cross piece. I'm holding this ground down, which many people call right side up. But in electrical, for receptacles, there's no such thing as right side up versus upside down. There is only ground up versus ground down. However, if we look over here, we see that the back of this GFI is reading upside down. So if we turn it this way, it is now ground up. That tells us that the manufacturer of this particular GFI considers the ground up position to be the correct one. That does not mean that we must install it ground up, only that the engineer who designed this decided to make a statement that he prefers ground up. The code does not specify. If you look on the back, we have here line and load. Line is the hot coming in from your breaker. Load is any wiring that you might connect to this receptacle to feed receptacles downstream of this one if you want those other receptacles to be protected by this GFI. Anything coming into the line side of the GFI is protected only once it gets into the GFI, and anything downstream, again, the load side, will also be protected, but from the breaker to the receptacle, it is not protected, except it has overcurrent protection from the breaker, but not ground fault protection from the GFI as it just comes in. Only once it goes through the GFI and goes out the load side does it have protection. Of course, anything plugged into this GFI receptacle will also have ground fault protection. Note also the bronze screws for the hots, white screws for the neutrals. Remember, different makes or models of GFI will have the line and load on what you might consider the top and bottom. Some GFIs are exactly the opposite. They'll have the load on top and the line on bottom. Don't ever assume, let's say we consider this the top, don't ever assume the top is the line. It may be the load. Always turn it around and read line versus load so that you know which one is line and which one is load.